Okay, next is test-retest reliability. Okay, just now we discussed about internal consistency reliability. So for test-retest reliability, as the name stands, it is an estimate of reliability obtained by correlating pairs of scores, meaning that there is no one score. There must be at least two scores from the same people on two different administration of the same test. Okay, let me explain. So for internal consistency reliability, you only need to go and collect data from one group of people at one time. Okay, only at one time. So they don't have to answer it more than one time. So you come back, okay, you key in your data and you analyze your combat alpha. So it's that you can already establish your internal consistency reliability. But sometimes some construct, for example, construct which is not stable over time, which fluctuate over time. So it is not suitable for us to establish internal consistency reliability. Instead, the option that we have is to use test-retest reliability. So to use test-retest reliability, you need to collect data twice. Okay, two administration. So here you have your test with you. You go and approach, say for example, 100 participants, okay, 100 group of people, okay, here, and then after 2 weeks, you go and approach the same people, the same 100 that you approached before to answer it again. So for your participants, they have to answer it twice. You come back, you key in your data, you establish correlations of the two scores. Okay. So remember, each of participants have two scores, the same test. Okay, the same test, you ask them to answer it, okay, on the first week, and after 2 weeks, you ask them to answer it again. So you correlate between these two scores, okay, between first time administration and the second time administration. So in this case, you would be able to establish test-retest reliability. Okay, what you are looking at, we are looking at positive correlations between the score 1 and the score 2. Okay, the first time we collect data and the second time we collect data. This is what we call as correlations between the two scores as coefficients of stability. Okay, we want to see if the tests have test-retest reliability, they should have high positive correlations between the two scores. Okay, like I mentioned, so why we have these options in our hand, okay, why we also have internal consistency reliability, because for its suitability is different. Okay, for test-retest reliability, we can use it to evaluate reliability of the test that aims to measure something that is relatively stable over time, okay, such as personality traits. So if you recall back what you have learned in personality psychology, for example, personality traits is very difficult to be changed in a very short period of time. Okay, some personality psychologists believe that it can still be changed, but it requires very significant events, okay, such as traumatic events that happens to a person, or it requires a lot of trainings across a long time for them to train, okay, their behavior, their personality. Okay, so in nutshells, many people believe that it's very difficult to change personality traits within short period of times. So in this case, personality traits, it is best to be or to estimate a personality traits using test-retest reliability. Okay. On the other hand, we are not encouraged to use test-retest reliability for the characteristic of a person that are assumed to fluctuate over time. They are not consistent. Okay, today they are being very friendly, very happy-go-lucky, but next week they are not. Okay, for example. Okay, in this case, if you still want to look from the perspective of personality psychology, you can look into the part of personality states. Okay, because personality state is depending on the environmental factors, the environmental influence that makes them behave in that way. Okay, sometimes when those factors do not present or those factors are also different, so they will not demonstrate the same personality states. Okay, So in this case, we are not advised to use test-retest reliability. Even if we use it, there is high probability that we are going to have very low correlations. In other words, very low test-retest reliability evidence. Okay, one important aspect that we need to really pay attention if we want to use test-retest reliability is the duration. Okay, the durations between the first time data collection and the second time data collection. Okay, please remember that when we use test-retest reliability, we will always have to collect data twice, once and then the second time. So in this case, psychologists always discuss what is the appropriate durations that between the first time we collect the data and the second time we collect the data. Okay, so here some researchers suggested that it should not be less than 1 week or it should not be more than 6 weeks. Okay, so the duration is between 1 to 6 weeks. I can see that some people suggest that we should collect the data again after 2 weeks. So this durations is recommended because this is to make sure that there is a balance between minimizing practice effects and minimizing the time effects. Okay, let me explain a little bit here. What is practice effect? Okay, if we administer the second times, okay, after the first data collection, and then after a couple of days, okay, after within a days, for example, you go and collect the data again. Okay, after 1 day, you approach the same people again and you ask them to answer the test. So here, your respondent might still remember their answers. Okay, remember they have answered it yesterday. So they might still remember their answers, and instead of answering their real personality state at that particular times, they try to imitate, they try to copy, they try to answer the same answers that they used to answer yesterday. So this is the effects of being practiced or trained. Okay, meaning that they already answer in that way, so they try to be consistent, so they answer the same way again tomorrow. Okay, after the second administration. So this will not give us a useful data. Okay, we will not get a proper estimate of reliability for the test because our respondents still remember, or our respondent wanted to answer the same way as they answered it before, although their condition at that particular time is already changed. Okay, they no longer have the same feeling, they no longer have the same attitude, for example. So that is practice effects. However, so in order for us to minimize these practice effects, we should extend, or we should use, or we should administer the test after some period of time so that our respondent would maybe forget about what they have answered before, and they will answer truthfully on their true feelings, okay, their true psychological state at that particular times. So the longer the second administration is, the better. Okay, so that this practice effect will not influence our respondent answer. However, when we use, or we extend or prolong the second administration, we might be affected by time effects. Okay, so there are many things that time effect will give. For example, the personality is already changed. Okay, you take for after 6 months, after 1 year, then you're going for the second administration. So it's not being practical in that times. And sometimes through this time, while waiting for the second administrations, okay, this is where they have learned new things. Okay, they have experienced new things. Okay, they have come across many perspectives. So in these parts, the times have also influenced the psychological construct that we want to measure. Okay, people learn new things, people exposed to new things, so people have changed across times. So these times will also affect the reliability of the test. So too long, okay, between the first and the second administration will also impact the answer of our respondents. So in this case, we should not make it too long to wait. Okay, the duration should not be too long. 1 year, 6 months, for example. So in this case, in order for us to minimize or to balance out the issues of practice effects and time effects, so psychologists recommended that we conduct the first and the second time test administration between 1 to 6 weeks. So I can see that quite a number of researchers suggested between 2 to 4 weeks as well. Okay, so this is a special issues in test-retest reliability, whereby we as the test administrator or test user or test administrator, we need to pay attention. When we want to conduct the data collection on the second times, we have to observe the duration as well. Okay, don't take it too long because the time effects will influence our respondents' answers, or don't administer it too quick because the practice effect will influence our respondents' answers. So this is test-retest reliability, whereby we want to establish coefficients of stability.